We have also crayfish. I don't know how in Russia, it's not too many people who have crayfish. In Russia, there are some species I would like to get. So if you have any connections to Russian crayfish, I need photograph them because I have no photos of Russian crayfish.
У меня нет фотографий русских раков, поэтому если у вас есть какие-нибудь сведения, где можно сфотографировать их, то сообщите мне, пожалуйста.
Скажи, в супермаркете.
Yes, I need to get them. How much? So Cambarellus is the genus that are the tiny ones. The Cambarellus are crayfish from 2 centimeters to 4 centimeters, so not very big. And this is the star of the crayfish hobby.
Это очень знаменитый рак.
Cambarellus pascuarensis orange from Mexico. And here you can see how she carried the eggs.
Здесь показано, как они носят.
And here's the mother with the babies attached.
Это самка с детенышем.
I had a friend who was the inventor of this from Holland, and he gave them away for free, like 20 or 30, he gave them to people. And then he saw how they spread all over the world and how much money the people made with this little crayfish. He was like, it was very sad.
Я знаю человека, который их вывел. Он раздал 20-30 штук бесплатно, и потом только увидел, как они распространились по всему миру, и понял, сколько можно было на них заработать.
And here's a baby, very tiny, just released from the mother.
Это маленький детеныш, только что отошел от матери.
This is Cambarellus pua from USA, and you can see how many babies she has. A lot, 100.
Обратите внимание, сколько детенышей у этого рака. Больше сотни.
And of course, the blue crayfish. You have this in Russia?
Есть у вас в России здесь такие раки?
Procambarus aleni. Of course, Cherax from Papua is where I work mainly with this species. This is my specialty, crayfish from Papua.
Это моя специализация, раки из Папуа.
Cherax alvidus, alvidus or alvidus from Australia. Another species I described in 2006. I called it Cherax holtuisi.
Этот вид я описал в 2006 году.
And these guys are very, compared to the other crayfish, very peaceful. This is another new species I have from Papua that I'm just working on at the moment. It's a new species.
Это новый вид из Папуа, довольно мирный по сравнению с другими раками.
It's called Cherax Oa Creek or Irianjaya, like this. This is Cherax holtuisi orange. And when I sent the pictures to the museum and said I have a new species, the guy who works in the museum, he was 80 years, he was a very old guy with the typical, the museum guys, and I sent the pictures of the two crayfish, one was blue and one was orange. And I said, I want to describe this species as new species. And then he replied to me, "Dear Mr. Lukhaup, I don't like that you are treating us like idiots. How you can put plastic crayfish in the aquarium?" And send him, he thought I make a joke. You know, I sent him orange and blue crayfish because he wasn't a guy from the museum. He saw the crayfish in alcohol, all have the same color. And I said, hey, I have some new species. And I said, how you can do this? I'm 80 years old. I am not for jokes.
Когда я отправил фотографии этих раков в музей и написал, что хочу сделать их описание, мне ответил человек лет 80, работник музея, что зачем вы засунули в аквариум пластиковых раков? Он видит их только заспиртованными, и они все бесцветные, все одинаковые.
So these things can happen, but they are really nicely colored. And here you have, this is destructive. Don't leave this crayfish go out of the aquarium. This is Procambarus clarki, because it will eat everything what is around, and it also has a fungus called Aphanomyces astaki that kill European crayfish. That's why, please, this crayfish just in the aquarium, not in the river. Putting them outside, not good.
Не выпускайте этого рака из аквариума в реку, потому что он переносит специальный грибок, который поражает других раков.
This is also Procambarus clarki, a nice colored one. It's called ghost.
Очень красиво окрашенный рак, называется ghost.
This is the typical habitat in the river. This is the whole river in Missouri.
Это типичное место обитания таких раков.
Where you can find crayfish. I found in this river 7 species of crayfish. 7.
В этой реке я обнаружил 7 видов раков.
And this is the habitat of Crocambarus clarki. A lot of snakes there. I've never seen so many snakes like in the USA.
Здесь обитает Crocambarus clarki и очень много змей здесь водится. Никогда не видел так много змей.
There are snakes everywhere. If you go to a river, for sure you find snakes like these, big ones, everything.
Если зайдешь в реку, обязательно найдешь змею.
And this is a species that is very interesting. It clones himself. When I found this out, I wrote to the scientist, I have something new. This species is new and it clones himself. And the scientist wrote me, this is impossible. Can you not distinguish between, and they told me this is clarki. And I said, no, this is not clarki. I said, Chris, you don't know the difference between a male and a female? And I said, what? I mean, I work with crayfish and the scientists no, impossible. And then I got my first article in a magazine called Nature. It's the most important magazine that is in scientific publications when it comes to nature. Maybe you know this magazine? And I think I was the only guy who had no doctor. And I published in this magazine, and everybody was like, what? A magazine, an article in Nature? Yes, because it's possible that, because just in this species, just females. If you bring me a male from this species, I give you 5,000 euros cash. And I published this in a magazine. I said, who bring me a male, I will pay him 3,000 euros. Nothing happened, because just females.
Об этом виде я написал в научный журнал, что особи этого вида размножаются клонированием. Здесь только самки. Самцов этого вида не существует. И если вы найдете самца такого вида, то я заплачу 5000 евро. И до сих пор никто мне не приносил. Я единственный, кто опубликовал статью в этом научном журнале без докторской степени.
So this is how a crayfish molts. It falls on the back, try to get it out. More, this is very, it costs a lot of energy for the crayfish.
Это процесс линьки.
And then he's out. There's a picture missing. Crayfish and shrimps. Big crayfish and little shrimps, no problem. Little crayfish and little shrimps, problematic. If the nano aquarium is like that, the crayfish want to have sex with the shrimps. It's not that he wants to eat him. It's like, you see, hey, sexy girl, and then he goes, not you, I'm talking about that. So he thinks it's a nice female. So the reaction is like my reaction when I see a girl, I always go like, hey. But the guy goes there and grabs her. And then he tries to mate with her. And then he destroys the shrimp. Because the shrimp is not the crayfish. The shrimp is very sensible. So you need, you know, like with a girl, you have to take care. But this guy, it's like raping the girl. And the girls don't like it.
Крупных раков можно содержать с маленькими креветками, но если содержать карликовых раков и креветок, то возникают большие проблемы, так как раки пытаются размножаться с креветками, они их хватают, а так как креветки очень слабые, то они их разрушают.
Maybe not.
В наноаквариуме лучше не содержать.
Crayfish and snails could be difficult also because not because of the sex, not because of the sex. They just want to eat them. These they want to eat, so they will probably start tasting the snail. Oh, it tastes not good, but the snail is already hard, so not so good at it.
Раков и креветок, раков и улиток можно содержать в аквариуме, но иногда также возникают проблемы, потому что рак пытается съесть улиток.
If the fish and the crayfish is similar in size, no big problem. If the fish is like this and the crayfish like this, goodbye. If the crayfish is like that and the fish like this, goodbye. So,
также можно содержать креветок и рыбу, раков и
рыб в
аквариуме, если они одного размера. Если разного, то они друг друга съедят.
Because big crayfish, little shrimp, they don't mind, they don't care.
Крупные раки спокойно живут с маленькими креветками.
Everybody.
Не обращают друг на друга внимания.
Sorry. Hey, thanks again for translating me. You are like my best worker now. snails. Every one of you had snails in the aquarium, right?
У всех у вас есть улитки в аквариуме, так?
No? You don't? Yes. Something is not okay in your tank. Because always, if you buy plants, and especially in Russia, you change plants. You don't go to buy, you change them between the aquariums, right? This is the way how you do it. So, sooner or later, you will have snails in the aquarium. In the past, you always try to or put something inside or whatever, put fish inside, then eat them. But in the last years, the attitude towards the it's not working. Towards the snails changed. So now people pay a lot of money for snails, sometimes up to 30 euros for one snail. 30 euros. How much is the ruble? 40. Like 40 to 1, right? 45. So, they pay a couple of hundred rubles for buying some snails. But this is happening because the people have a different attitudes towards the snails. So this is a fusa. This is not so important. But in the past, like I said, you put fish that eat snails. And sometimes you can put crayfish inside. Some crayfish also, they take them out and they eat them. But in the meantime, this changed. You have some very nice snails. You have, for example, this snail that is eating other snails. You know this snail?
Helena.
What is the name? Helena. Genau.
Улитки часто попадают в аквариум вместе с растениями, и раньше люди пытались от них избавиться, но теперь отношение к улиткам переменилось, и многие покупают улиток довольно дорого и содержат в своих аквариумах.
Exactly. And you can put, if you have a lot of snails that you don't like all the fusa, you put this inside. And then they start eating the snails. But after 3 weeks you have no more snails, because they eat all the snails, so you have to buy snails to feed them.
Можно посадить в аквариум такую улитку, если хотите избавиться от других улиток. И за 3 недели она всех остальных уничтожит. Но затем придется покупать улиток, чтобы прокормить эту.
Sometimes they eat also fish food. It has a lot of protein or whatever you can feed them with fish.
Иногда они едят и корма для рыб, так как в них содержится много белка.
These are very old photos, so the quality is bad, but I had no time to change it. You have the apple snails that are, meanwhile, apple snails are forbidden in Europe. No more apple snails.
Ампуляри теперь запрещены в Европе.
Because they have a lot of destruction in Spain, the apple snails, and that's why the European community brought out the law that forbids apple snails of introduction reasons in Germany, in all the European community.
Потому что этих улиток выпускают в водоемы, они бесконтрольно там размножаются, и поэтому пришлось издать закон, который запрещает.
Также, по-моему, флавонофоры и красноухие черепахи.
They survive in Spain, maybe in Italy, but in Germany or Sweden, they don't survive. It's cold. But European Union is like this, so.
Это, конечно, довольно глупо, потому что в Италии или в Испании они, конечно, выживут, но в Германии вряд ли.
Во Франции тоже не выживут.
So they forbid all of the Pomacea, Marisa, all these species are.
Все виды вроде Помацея и Мариса запрещены.
And here, of course, doing some circus. Sometimes I train the snails and they do little things for me. You know what? I talk to the animals. Nobody believes me. But I talk to the animals and tell them, stay there, turn around. Otherwise you cannot make the photos. It's like, you know, don't look to the phone. Your mother's not calling, no worry.
Иногда я разговариваю с животными, чтобы они стояли на месте или поворачивались, иначе сфотографировать.
We have already, so nothing new for you guys. You know these ones? Very good algae eaters. Vitina coromandeliana.
Эти улитки очень хорошо поедают водоросли.
And you have these guys, they are even better because you can also put them in nano aquariums. It's a species with a very wide pattern, colors. It's all one species.
Эти улитки подходят для наноаквариума. Они бывают различных расцветок, различного цвета, и бывают разные.
And then you have the Geosezama, of course, different species. But like I said, Geosezama you keep in an aquaterrarium and not in an aquarium. The people did this in the past. They put them in the aquarium, and the little Geosezamas, after a couple of days, you keep them, little water, a lot of land.
Этих крабов нужно содержать в акватеррариуме. Раньше сажали их в аквариумы, но они там быстро погибают.
Here, for example, you can see how she catch the babies, carry the babies on the back for a couple of weeks, so that it must be humid in the aquaterrarium. You cannot keep them underwater; they will drown.
Обратите внимание, как они переносят своих детенышей на спине, поэтому в акватеррариуме должно быть очень влажно, иначе они высохнут.
After some days, of course, not immediately, but it's not good. They don't like it to be all the time in the water. They have to go out.
Они спускаются в воду, но часто остаются на суше.
This is the vampire crab. I talked about that in the zoology. Geosezama kratin. So at least we have at least 10 to 15 different species of Geosezama in the trade.
От 10 до 15 различных видов геосезама существует в продаже.
But we have not kratin in Russia.
No?
No.
Well, you have to import them. Start a business.
Of course.
Geosezama vietnamese in Japan. This is how they live. I showed that in the Sulawesi video, so you know how fast. Mussels. You have a lot of mussels in Russia, right? In the big rivers, when you guys go fishing and you go to swim, snorkeling, outside in the Volga or wherever, I don't know.
В России очень много моллюсков, так?
In the aquarium, it's difficult to keep them. I am not a very friend of this because you filter the aquarium. You have a filter in the aquarium. So the mussels, they start starving and they die. After 3 to 6 months, usually the mussels are dead. If you don't feed them extra.
Двустворчатые моллюски быстро погибают в аквариуме, так как в аквариумах обычно устанавливают фильтры. Моллюскам нечего есть, поэтому приходится их кормить дополнительно.
There's a lot of mussels outside, I mean in the trade.
Моллюсков в продаже много.
Ever seen this?
Видели когда-нибудь такое?
Who knows this animal?
Кто знает?
We have this crayfish. It's aigla.
It's aigla, exactly.
We have it from aquarium glazer.
Ah, okay, yeah. They have aigla platensis from Argentina. Es un cangrejo de Argentina. Special for you. This is difficult to keep. Some people have them, but I think they need cold water because I also have a place in Chile, a house. The water there is 11 to 12 to 13 degrees, very fast flowing, very cold, a lot of oxygen. So in the aquarium, usually they don't do so well. The ones from Brazil, yes, but the ones that are important usually don't do so well. Difficult to keep in the aquarium.
Этих раков очень сложно содержать в аквариуме, так как им нужна низкая температура. В реках они существуют при температуре 11-13 градусов, а в аквариуме трудно поддерживать такие условия.